Losing Blake Snell from your starting rotation is certainly no small thing, and yet the San Francisco Giants, once Blake Snell has gone down, the rest of these starters have more than stepped up. Logan Webb being Logan Webb, Jordan Hicks has been one of the best stories in the game so far, and then two young starters, Kyle Harrison and Keaton Winn, getting it done for the Giants.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Giants, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. My name is Ben Kaspick, and on the show we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday, talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that's data-driven and rational, but also simple, passionate, and accessible to all. I'm a former contributor for the baseball statistics and analysis websites Beyond the Box Score and RotoGraphs. I've been podcasting about the Giants since 2015. I've been hosting this show for over 5 years, and I'm a lifelong Giants fan. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube, so check us out there if you have not already. And please hit that subscribe button wherever it is that you're following the show. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Visit fanduel.com/locked on to get started. And yes, where we get started is by mostly focusing on the Giants starting pitching, which has carried them to back-to-back series wins here. The starting pitching was just phenomenal in really, I mean, definitely over the last two series, Mets and Pirates. The Giants won both of those series. This was a long homestand. They split with the D-backs. They were in a position to win 3 out of 4. Doing a good job of winning the first game of series. So that has just been a nice thing to see. And overall in the season now, I look at the numbers for the starters, and the Giants are in the top tier here. They're number 12 in Fangraphs wins above replacement with from their starters with 2.3. But this was a number that wasn't as good, and this includes like the struggles of Blake Snell, and so they're number 9 in ERA, and this is not a surprise. I mean, this was a starting staff, particularly with Blake Snell, that looked like a real strength. And I mean, you've got Jordan Hicks out here with a 1.59 ERA in his first 6 starts with the Giants. I mean, you couldn't imagine a better start for him, and he had a phenomenal outing. Unfortunately, the Giants' offense, which we'll get to later, wasn't able to pick him up, but he had just a dominant outing in the loss in the series, in the one loss in the series against the Pirates. Logan Webb has just been on like a historic run for himself. Like, I think his scoreless inning streak is ongoing. He's leading the majors in ERA. I think the scoreless streak is ongoing. But how about Keaton Winn? I mean, Keaton Winn yesterday, last time Keaton Winn pitched, he was the headline of my show. I mean, his image was like the image we used to highlight the show, and he did it again. I mean, on Sunday, he went toe-to-toe with a pitcher on the Pirates who's having a really good season, really good, and just like overpowering, and Keaton Winn bested him. Keaton Winn has a 3.18 earned run average with a 3.97 expected ERA. So yes, that's higher, but nonetheless, I mean, you're getting like major league quality production, and not just like back end starter production. You're getting like good production here out of a guy like Keaton Winn. And that is like, if you can get that, and then like I said before his most recent start with Kyle Harrison, it may have been after, I can't remember actually, but every time Kyle Harrison goes out there, he has the chance to dominate, and this is all without Blake Snell. And then it turns around, and then there's Logan Webb again. And so having like they've like struck gold so far on Jordan Hicks, and then they've had just tremendous progress from Keaton Winn. And then Kyle Harrison, I mean, his last start, he lowered his ERA by like a run because he went 6 shutout innings, I believe it was. And so 6 shutout innings. And so for the Giants starters, when did this start. This was April 22nd against the Mets. If we go back to April 22nd against the Mets and look at uh, how do the Giants fare during this time from their starting pitching, I'm gonna just guess as we pull this up that they're gonna be like number one. Yeah, their ERA is 0.82 since the start of that. So 0.82 as a starting staff, the starting pitchers. Obviously not sustainable, but nonetheless, like that just goes to show you why did they win these games. They scored only 3 runs in each of the games against the Pirates, and they won 2 out of 3. 3 runs is normally not going to be enough, but Logan Webb and Kyle Harrison each allowed no runs. Webb went 8 innings. Harrison went 6. Uh, Jordan Hicks went 6 and gave up a run. Keaton Winn started twice and gave up a total of, it doesn't actually say, he gave up a total of 2 runs in 2 starts in 12 innings. So 1 run per 6 innings. So the ERAs here are 0, 0, 1.5, 1.5. And so that's getting the job done. And again, it's not including the reigning Cy Young Award winner, Blake Snell. And then it's also not including Alex Cobb and Robbie Ray. And so this rotation for sure has the potential to be really good. And if Keaton Winn and Kyle Harrison and perhaps others along the line can break through and establish themselves as good young starting pitchers, then that's just a great development, and that's what we're kind of seeing here in the early part of the season. I can't say it's like a surprise, especially with Harrison, but the bigger surprise is probably that Keaton Winn has been even better. And what intrigues me so much about Winn is like if you just look at the stuff, it's like upper 90s with the fastball. He's got a sinker that's mid 90s. I guess he does seem to throw 2 different types of fastball, but his average fastball velocity is 95. He throws his splitter 89, throws his slider a lot more this year than he did last year, but that splitter, which he throws 42.3% of the time, fastball 42.5% of the time. So it's like one or the other equally, and then mix in 15% slider, and it's just been really effective. And he's 26. He's a rookie. I think he's still rookie eligible. I'm actually not positive, but because he did pitch 42 1/3 innings last year. But yeah, regardless, this has just been a good development, and it's been some wins for the San Francisco Giants, who are still a game under 500, but nonetheless, very much just like not having a disastrous start, which is really all you want to avoid. And so, yeah, coming up next, I do want to just turn our attention to the offense because it's been less of a bright spot and more inconsistent or consistently inconsistent or consistently kind of mediocre. I don't know what exactly to describe it as, but we're going to run through everybody. But then we'll also get to guys who people were like giving up on and panicking on, like Mike Yastrzemski, who, oh, guess what? Got hot, just like we said he would, because that's baseball, and you don't judge someone by like 4 games or 1 game. I'm getting judgments based on 1 game on opening day and stuff. So we'll get into all of that in just a minute. And before we do, today's episode is brought to you in part by DoorDash. This Mother's Day, get something thoughtful for mom on DoorDash. Surprise her from wherever you are with fresh bouquets, the latest tech, gift cards, self-care treats, and more to make her day that much better. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for 50% off your next order, up to $15 when you spend 15 or more on your next flour, convenience, grocery, or retail order now on DoorDash. Pair flowers with a gift card so she can celebrate any way she wants. Is she a bookworm like my mom? Try a bookstore gift card. Does she love a good latte? Get a gift card to her favorite coffee shop. You really can't go wrong. Plus, you get the convenience of shopping on your phone, so you don't have to be the one scrambling, driving around to whatever store it is that's open that will have something your mom might happen to like. Trust me, I've been there. Sorry, Mom. She is a daily, everyday. My mom is an everydayer. Sorry, Mom. It was a long time ago. Order now and get everything you need for Mother's Day on DoorDash. Use code LOCKEDONMLB to get 50% off your next order, up to $15 when you spend 15 or more on your next flour, convenience, grocery, or retail order now on DoorDash. That's Locked On MLB. Order using DoorDash today. Terms apply. Today's episode is also brought to you by Monopoly Go. All right, game off. We've got to pause here to talk more about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying. Flag on the play. You already talked about that, but there is just so much good stuff in this game. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for timed tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. And there's so much more to get. Unique stickers you can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes, cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with, hilarious emojis for taunting friends when you smash their buildings or heist their vaults. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or a robot pachinko machine. And there's always new timed events to help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it now, free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on. All right, as promised, we're going to talk about the offense. This is definitely we've broken down the defense. There have been recent episodes where we've talked about the defense, the Giants' defense, ranking very highly. And I was looking at outs above average, and the Giants were first in that category. And I made it a point to mention, oh, by the way, that doesn't include catcher defense. And then I just talked about the starting pitching. I don't think we're going to get into the bullpen today, but we've talked about the bullpen. That's probably bullpen's like half awesome and half scary a little bit sometimes. But, you've got Camilo Doval, you've got some reliable guys at the end, and then you've got Doval. So this is a pretty good baseball team is what I see. But the offense, like a lot of guys with track records have yet to kind of hit their stride, including some of the new guys they've brought in like Matt Chapman and Jorge Soler. So we're going to get into that momentarily. Before we do, are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Do you have to turn down the volume with all of that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or on the free Amazon Fire TV Channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where, as you know, is your team every day. Also, just a reminder, you can catch every pitch of the Giants' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search the word Giants. And then finally, Postcast. Eric Engel. By now, you've probably heard me say this. If you're new, you haven't heard me say this. Basically, after every game on the Locked On Sports Bay Area YouTube channel, instant reaction from Eric Engel, formerly producer at KNBR, and you can, join the conversation, be in the chat, and just right after the games. That's not what we do. That's what he does. And then those shows also show up on this podcast feed, just not on the YouTube channel. So anyway, just wanted to give a shout out to that and that let you know that that's available to you. So getting into the Giants offense, now that we've waxed poetic about their starting pitching recently in particular, the Giants, like I said, their defense is kind of carrying them to being 13th in Fangraphs wins above replacement as a unit. So like all of their non-pitchers combined are somewhat middle of the pack according to Fangraphs, and their offense overall comes in with a 99 weighted runs created plus 100 is league average. So they've been pretty much spot on average offensively, which is kind of fine, I guess, if you're going to pitch like they've been pitching recently. But there are guys who are just not performing up to the level that you would quite expect. And there are guys who are actually performing beyond the level that you would expect. I mean, Patrick Bailey, I can't say enough. I mean, the last episode we did was on Saturday, and we talked about him. It's crazy. I mean, he's just doing so well. And if you look at the there's this number weighted on base average. It's complicated, but it's like very robust and probably the most accurate kind of number that if you could give one number that tells you how has a guy performed offensively, I'd give you weighted on base average. And league average is set to the league average on base percentage, and the league average on base percentage, I don't know off the top of my head what it is this season, but it's probably around 320. And for Patrick Bailey, he's at 369. And what's so fascinating as I look here is his expected weighted on base average is 368. So he's earned every bit of the production that he's put out there offensively, and he's doing what he does defensively, being one of the best framers in the game, one of the best catch and throw catchers in the game. And so the perhaps star turn for Patrick Bailey would just be a huge, great development for the Giants. That walk-off homer he hit was just unbelievable against the Pirates, and David Bednar in a high 97-mile-an-hour fastball, like just unreal. Lamont Wade also having a really nice start to the season, but 476 batting average on balls in play. That's going to come down by like 150 points, and so we'll have to see where he lands after that. But also, it's not luck. Like, this is where these StatCast numbers can tell us. He has an expected weighted on base average of 388, which is phenomenal, and an actual of 402. So a little bit overperforming it, but it's not luck. It's just sustainability. It just means he can't keep, guys just don't keep that up in terms of that kind of 476 batting average on balls in play. That number is going to come down by 150 points, probably at least. And so just putting it out there. So again, we are still early in the season. That's a good reminder of that. Nick Ahmed hasn't really hit much as expected, but he's been really good defensively. So he's kind of done what we've expected. Thairo Estrada, he did hit a big homer in this win on Sunday, but nonetheless been a little bit underwhelming overall with the bat. But, you know, I believe in Thairo Estrada. Tyler Fitzgerald has had a nice start offensively when he's played. I mean, he's hitting 313, 353 on base, 563 slugging, provided good defense. So he's been a nice story. When he's played, he's looked like a big leaguer to me. And so that's awesome. Jung-Hoo Lee really underperforming. Like, he's hit so many balls hard that have been caught. Seems like he hits the ball hard like a couple times a game, and a lot of the times they get caught. But overall, league average offensively, 100 weighted runs created plus. But speaking of the expected numbers, they're about 25 points higher for him than the actual numbers. So, you know, again, more season to play. As time goes on, you kind of expect these things to line up more. And earlier in the season, you can see big gaps. But basically, Jung-Hoo Lee's deserved a little bit of a better fate offensively. That definitely passes the eye test for me. If you've been watching every game, he's hitting the ball hard all the time. And I mean, sometimes, yeah, ground balls to second base or whatever, but also just rockets that have often been caught. Conforto has cooled off a bit, but still has been productive. And then we get to the guys, I've been going in like descending order of production. And Matt Chapman, I mean, he's hitting 221 with a 267 on base. So that is a bad on base percentage, 389 slugging. So there is a little bit of power happening, and he's also hit into some bad luck, but overall just hasn't made much of an impact offensively. But I still feel good, like every time he comes up, like he might do something. And he's never had a below average offensive season, and so I would just expect with time that Chapman will come around. Likewise, Jorge Soler, I mean, there's been a lot of strikeouts recently, hitting 216, 314 on base, 402 slugging. And the expected numbers even a little worse than the actual numbers by just a little bit. But then it's crazy. You get to Mike Yastrzemski, and we're going to talk more about him, like focus on him a little bit later. But he's had, his numbers are better than Matt Chapman's. Okay. And so for those of you who are ready to cut Mike Yastrzemski like a day into the season, this episode is for you, because we're going to get into Yaz and just streaks in baseball and small samples in baseball. He hit a big home run back to back with Estrada on Sunday. And then, I mean, Wilmer Flores has been one of the Giants' worst hitters, hitting 227, 321 on base, no power to speak of, 288 slugging. But I'm not worried about Wilmer Flores either because track record. And Austin Slater has really still yet to get it going for sure. And Tom Murphy, the last on the list, like when he's played, he just really, really hasn't done anything. But he's got a long track record of hitting left-handed pitching. So a lot of guys with track records underperforming right now, but it is early. And I believe in track records, just like I was banging that drum with Mike Yastrzemski. I'm going to bang that drum with, Tom Murphy and with Wilmer Flores. Like, I'm just not panicked. And there's plenty of time for those guys to turn it around. We are only, how many games into this season are we? The Giants' record is 14 and 15. So we're about 20. We are 29 games into the season. And so that the number where I say you can first make a real solid judgment, or at least somewhat of a solid judgment, is about 45 games. So we're getting close there. I mean, we're just, a little over 2 weeks, 3 weeks away from that point. And I think we've seen them at their worst, we've seen them at their best, and that's just what a baseball season is like. Ups and downs, and you just hope for more ups than downs. And right now they're on the up, and they've got a big road trip coming up, going to Fenway Park, where Mike Yastrzemski is going to go back for the second time in his career, where his grandfather obviously is a legend. So I'm really looking forward to that, and we'll use that as an excuse to also just talk about what Yaz has been able to do lately and just kind of illustrate that streaks in baseball happen, and we can't give up on players based on a tiny sample. So we'll get into all of that in just a minute, and before we do, today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. It's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball, as you know, is in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Where are you going to find a better deal than that? Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that's safe, secure, and easy to use. It's as simple as clicking on FanDuel.com right now, like I just did, and I want to check out what are the odds for the Giants in Boston. Are the Giants going to be favorites against the Red Sox? Do they even have that game pulled up? Because they're not playing today, they're playing tomorrow. So they don't have that one right now. But regardless, the point is you can bet on anything, and win or lose, you get $150 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. Again, what are you waiting for? FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. All right, as promised, we're going to get into kind of the lore of Fenway Park and Mike Yastrzemski going back there. It was so cool last time they went there in 2019 at the end of Bruce Bochy's. He got his, what was it, 2000th win there, Bochy did, and Yaz hit a home run in that series, and he got a big ovation every time he came up. So that was just really cool, and I'm looking forward to it again, and I'm glad that the Giants didn't cut him like a lot of people in my Twitter mentions wanted him gone after like 3 days into the season. Thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. Everydayers, tomorrow we do have a lot of mailbag questions that I put out there on Friday, so we will get to those tomorrow. The timing may be a little weird. I've got a lot going on tomorrow, a lot, and so we will do our best. But tomorrow's going to be a difficult day timing-wise, so just bear with me, and I'll give you updates on Twitter. Also, a reminder that you can catch every pitch of the Giants' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search the word Giants. So, an opportunity to talk about Mike Yastrzemski, and I have no ill will towards anyone who is in my mentions complaining about Yaz, but it's just there's this beginning of the season bias because it's the only numbers we have to go by, right? So when you see ugliness and you see bad performance, it's like that's the only performance we've seen for the season. But then imagine like they've played 29 games, right? Let's just say 30, right? And you split the season in half. The first 15, the second 14, whatever. If they were flipped, like you just have to think about how different would your perspective be? And so what? The season started in late March. Today's April 29th. So let's just look at the last, I don't know, since randomly Friday the 12th of May or of April, excuse me. Um, and look at who's hitting the best on the Giants. Oh, it's Tyro Estrada, number one. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's the thing. It's like here I am saying Tyro Estrada has struggled, but like if this was it doesn't matter the order, whether it's the first half or the second half. And it looks like I nailed this pretty well because this is 15 games for Estrada, 13 games for Bailey when I set that as the date, April 12th. So Estrada has been the Giants' best player since April 12th, according to Fangraphs offensively. Patrick Bailey second. He's been about the same, so he's kind of done it for both halves. Lamont Wade, same thing. He's done it like the whole time. Jung Hoo Lee, 10% above average when we look at that as a starting date. And then Mike Yastrzemski, a 142 weighted runs created plus, 42% above league average offense, 17% strikeout rate, which is low. That 142, I mean that's just excellent. He's been excellent for the last for him it's 35 plate appearances, hitting 313, 371 on base, 500 slugging. And so if that was the first 13 or 12 games of the year for him, then nobody would be talking about this stuff. But because he struggled initially, you get people acting like that's just not baseball. I just can't it kind of boggles the mind how we deal with this. I don't know. Most of you I'm sure understand that, but I get blown up like every day, and so do all the beat writers and whatnot. And there's a story I just saw like about the Giants having patience with Mike Yastrzemski because of track record. And like when Bob Melvin was asked, it really hit me hard because I loved his answer. He was like, somebody asked him, "What gives you confidence this offense can like turn things around?" And he just immediately blurted out, "Track record." And it's just so true. Yes, of course, sometimes guys don't live up to their track record and whatnot, but Yaz in particular, like he's not a superstar. He's not a Hall of Famer, but he's a solid major league player. He has never had a below average offensive season. If you're looking at batting average, well, I've got news for you, but batting average is very flawed as a robust statistic because, getting on base matters. How much power you hit for also matters. And also he's good in right field. And so he like saved a run and saved a game kind of the other day with a play that will kind of go unnoticed. But yeah, this year he's already put up 3 defensive runs saved, 1 out above average in right or just in the outfield. Yeah, he's only played right field so far this year. So anyway, that was just an opportunity. And then to kind of point out, and how about Michael Conforto, right? Everyone was so excited and high on Michael Conforto to start the season. Well, he's near the bottom here when I search for since April 12th. Conforto is second to last in weighted, actually in Fangraphs wins above replacement at 70, hitting 220, 246 on base, 356 slugging. And so just imagine they were flipped, please, because it doesn't matter whether it's the first 2 weeks or the next 2 weeks. It's about the combination of it all. And it's also like here we are. It's still April, and so it'll be about the combination of it all when the season's over. And then really when we're really evaluating players, we're looking at multiple seasons. Okay, so anyway, I know it's probably a small percentage of people who like overreact to small samples, but I do this every year. I just can't stress enough that we shouldn't do that. It's just not good baseball analysis. So that's my 2 cents there, and I'm really looking forward to Yaz going back to Fenway Park on a heater. Doesn't mean he's going to stay hot. That's baseball. He could cool down immediately. That is the weirdness of this game is people just get hot, they get cold, up and down. But I hope he does well. Be awesome to see Yaz go into Fenway Park and go, put on a show. I really am excited about that. So the Giants will be there on Tuesday, and every day is tomorrow. look out for a mailbag. We already put the prompt out there. So anyway, once again, my name is Ben Kaspick. Check me out on Twitter at Ben Kaspick, Kaspick. If you like this show, please consider rating it or leaving a review. It helps me out so much. So thank you in advance, and thanks to everyone who's done so already. Can't wait to be with you again tomorrow. Thanks again for listening. You are now Locked On Giants.